It's another day and we're happy to say we're single and we're healthy and we love it that way. Our melanin is popping in the morning glow, and we're about to tell you how the story goes.
Oh, hell nah.
Man, it's freezing out here.
Okay, I be with my bestie. We got the fresh tea, so tune in every Tuesday. Don't be messy. Elevate your mind, don't let none get you down. Cause this is Hot Thoughts. We covered the higher ground.
Welcome everybody to another episode of High Thoughts. Okay, I really need a clapper here because it's very annoying. Anyway, guys, we welcome you to another episode. We're thankful that you're here. Today, we have another guest, guys. This is our second guest of the podcast. It's a man. We're bringing in a man on Women's Month. I know, don't fight us, but you know. Yes, we are excited. It's a juicy topic. We are getting into fathers and their daughters and how, their feelings with their daughters, whether that is how they treat their daughters different than their sons, how they look at their daughters in society, wanting to protect their daughters. There's so many topics that we're going to touch on today with our guest, who is a friend of ours. His name is DJ QwessCoast. Quess resides in the West. He is born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I met Quess while he was doing his thing. I met Quess while he was DJing at a block party that he was actually producing. Quess is an event producer alongside with his partner and girlfriend, Jasmine Stevens, DJ Freckles, she goes by. But Quess is amazing, and Quess has DJed for many people from Omarion to Snoop Dogg to Damian Marley, Nas. The list literally goes on. He works with the Boxing Association, and he is a DJ, an official DJ for them. What do you call the Boxing Association? I don't even know what it's called. But yeah, the people who do, like, what's the guy who has the title? I can't think of his name, but yeah, or he had the title. Anyway, yeah, so he is a DJ for pretty much anything and everything you want. And he's also an event producer. We brought Quess on the show today because Quess has a daughter and he has a son. So we wanted to kind of talk about how he raises them to be respectable humans, to value themselves, have integrity, character. So we're just going to kind of dive into it. Tanisha has all the topics, y'all.
We about to dig real deep. And I'm super excited because he's such an open individual. Mm-hmm. I know he's going to keep it real. He's going to be honest. So I'm excited about this conversation. I think it's going to be great. And I know he's not going to tell us what we want to hear, which that's going to be good because you want to hear a man's perspective when they're being honest, right? So I'm excited. I'm ready for Quess.
Yay. All right, y'all. Please welcome our guest, DJ QwessCoast. Okay, guys, welcome DJ QwessCoast to the podcast. What up, Quess?
I'm feeling great and grateful. It's an honor to be here with you two lovely, beautiful women.
We're so excited.
Yes, we really are.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Today, we are talking about fathers and how fathers can treat their daughters differently than their sons. And also there's levels to it as far as, when your daughter grows and all that good stuff. So my question to you is, since you are a father of two and you have a boy and a girl, do you raise them differently? Do you treat them differently?
That's a great question. I believe they're all individuals. So I do try to cultivate their own individualities or whatnot. And I do think that there are ways that I might father different than, as a father of a daughter, the conversations that I have with her, it's levels to it, like you said. So they're different ages. So the conversations that I'm having with an 11-year-old is different than a 7-year-old. But I made it a vow, it was really hard for me to spank my daughter. I didn't really like that, didn't like the feeling, didn't like just the whole thing. But then I thought about it as it changed to like, should I spank my son? And I got to that, but then I started to realize like, I believe until the kid is like maybe 6 or 7 years old. I don't believe in a gender at that point. I just think that they're a baby. You know what I'm saying? I think they have to kind of identify and kind of like, oh, that's what I am. You know, I don't think they understand the difference between boy or girl at that early age. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some others didn't differ as like not like a general rule, but I heard that as a philosophy, like, you know, until they get to like 6 or 7 years old, they're human. They're not really like, I mean, manhood, becoming a woman, that's later in life. That's something that you have to learn. I think you kind of develop that and you understand that as you start to learn about your body, yourself, puberty, all of that type of stuff. So yes, I do, but there is, it's not like, oh, I'm easier on my daughter than I am on my son. It's not like that.
I like your perspective. Wait, I never heard someone like put it like that, because typically it's just a straight to, oh yeah, my daughter better not do this, and my son, you know what I'm saying? You expect certain things out of the gender role, right? So going into that, when it comes down to, as your daughter starts to get older, because she's only 11, and it comes to sex, and you're having that conversation with her, mm-hmm. Why do you think men do the thing where like, oh, you're not going to have sex until you're 40? Because I was reading an article on that. I never even looked at it like that until I read this article, and it says what that does to a young woman. Basically, it was saying it can scare her. You know, it could build like apprehension, and then she doesn't want to communicate with men, or she'll think that men are aggressive. You know, you're putting those things into her mind. And then on top of that, or you may build curiosity. Like, okay, well, daddy's making it seem really bad.
Let me see what this is.
Let me see what it
I think
so.
Go ahead, T. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think that's a great point. Because anytime you going back to the curiosity part, anytime someone tells you shouldn't do that, you are going to be even more curious about, why shouldn't I do this? Let me try. It don't look that scary. They don't look that bad, you know? But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts, Quest.
Yeah, I mean, you can equate that to, let's go to the roof and then tell everybody not to look down, right? It's going to be very hard, you know, whether you're afraid of heights or not. So I think a lot of that mentality comes from a person's own fear, right? So like they're like stuck in their own trauma, they're stuck in their own bad habits and whatever the baggage that they're carrying on. I think as a father, the first thing I thought of when I found out I'm having a daughter, I was like, oh, this is payback for all of the things that I've done to the women in my life.
Right? That's what they say.
Oh man, because you know, I wasn't always this wonderful gentleman, Prince Charming that I am today, you know. I mean, we all have to grow up, and so I had to grow out of some of my bad habits and old ways or whatnot. But I think that stems directly from that. You think about how you treated women growing up. You think about how you handled and how you cared for them, and then you say, "Well, damn, I don't want nobody treating my daughter like that." Well, then it's like, well, raise better sons, then, you know, like you. And so that kind of like, oh, okay, put that in my mind. So as a father, yeah. Sharpened me up, and it was like, okay, the more my daughter had to see me, the more I started to realize, and I started to like see myself. And I'm still challenged with this stuff, you know, because we are individuals and we make our own. But how I deal with, you know, my significant other, or the mothers of their of the children, or any women for that matter, in front of my daughter or in front of my children, is saying, like, it says so much. So like to get back to your question, I think that mentality steers from fear, immaturity, and not allowing your heart to feel, right? You got to kind of like let things process in your heart, same way you let it process in your mind. They say that in your stomach, there's more neurons in your stomach than in your brain. So like gut feelings are even more stronger than things that you think in your head necessarily. So all of these senses, they're there, but I think we have to kind of like unlearn, relearn. Word to Derek Grace on that, you know?
I like that. Because I think you made
I hope I answered the question.
No, you definitely answered it. It just triggered another question.
Let's go. Yeah.
No, so to build off of that, you being a man, when men say things like this, you know, now that I have a daughter, examples, like if there's a woman who's been violated or raped, they're like, you know, I wouldn't want my daughter to be treated like that. Do you think that men, after having a girl, that's how they base their respect? Am I asking this the right way? Base their respect on a woman? Because it's almost like before you had the daughter, did you just totally say, well, I'm a savage and I'm gonna do what the hell I want to do out here, you know, I'm gonna knock them down left and right. And then when you had the kid, you realize like, oh, well, maybe that's not too nice. I shouldn't treat women that way. Or, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what's your take on that? Because it can kind of feel like, well, why do you have to have why do you have to have a girl to realize like that you shitting on me? You know?
I mean, yes, I agree with the last part you said. It's like, do you have to have a daughter to now treat women right? I don't think that that's the thing. I don't think people have daughters and then they say, I'm gonna treat all women right, because that's not what clearly happened, right? I do think that is, when you do have a child, something that I tell everybody, oh yeah, I'm getting ready, we're preparing to have a child. It's like, nothing you could do could get you ready to have a child. I don't care what you say, like what you thought you knew, it's gonna be different. And so it's just an unfolding. I think what people forget is that, and I think if children recognize this or knew this, they would look at their parents different. But what happens when the child realizes that the parent is growing up with the child?
So you better preach, okay?
Like we act like just because you become a parent or an adult or something that you didn't figure out some shit. Like a lot of people got it wrong. You know, a lot of people with a lot of money got it wrong too, and that fucks us up even worse, because if you got a lot of money, you're supposed to be the authority on shit. But that's capitalism does not equate to, you know, righteousness or you know, the right way necessarily all the time. So what you're asking is so broad of a stroke. I don't think it's fair to men to just say that all men operate from this perspective, because I believe it has a lot to do with your family, how you were raised. Do you have a father in your life? How did your father treat his children? Is your mother around? How was her relationship with her kids? You know, I think some of our parents had this do as I do, don't do, or do as I say, don't do as I do as I say, don't do what I do type mentality, right? And that's taking me up to the roof and telling me not to look down. And so I make it a point to, like, when I tell my daughter, no, we're not doing that, I try to make it a point to try to further explain it. You know, my children know it's like, oh, here he go again with another lecture. It's like, nah, but hopefully this shit sticks, because I'm pouring my soul into them, trying to give them the things to look for, the mind state to have when going into any room to conquer anything, right?
Yeah, I like that.
That point is valid. So this brings me to something else that is a little, I don't know, it's kind of off topic, but it was a story that me and Tanisha saw one day. May came across the Shade Room, and what is his name? Safari from Love and Hip Hop, formerly used to date Nicki Minaj, right?
He's a ghostwriter, huh?
the ghostwriter, as he claims, right? I don't know, Nikki.
I wasn't there, man.
I wasn't there either. So I don't know. I believe Nikki. Okay. But Safari made a statement about women these days not leaving anything to the imagination anymore, right? And he mentioned he doesn't want his daughter to be that way, right? But then you look at his life and you say, well, look at who you're with. She makes money off of how she looks, her body, nothing wrong with that. That's the new age woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the new social media era as well. These women make money off of what they promote. And typically, whether that's bikinis or lingerie, that's what his current wife does. So I guess my question to you more so is, do you believe that men who date, because you know, however you feel, but do you believe that men who date women who their job is to be sexy, like an Erica Mena or a Kim Kardashian, should they expect, right, their daughters to not, like, the ones who expect their daughters to not go in that same route, right? Like, how realistic is that, right? Because that's what they see. That's their motive. That's their first, you know, beauty standard. I know for me that my mother was my first standard of beauty, you know? What do you think about that?
I totally agree. I mean, I think it's contradictory if they expect, I mean, you expose them. It's like, you know, I smoke weed. If my daughter starts smoking weed when she becomes of age, I wouldn't be like, I kind of showed her. I didn't show her how to smoke, but she was exposed to it through me, right? I think that's a touchy subject, you know, like rappers and role models. I think what people need to realize is this. I don't give a damn what somebody else is doing. Yeah. Your social media is like a mood board of your life professionally, right? And so, like, if you utilize your social media incorrectly, well, let's say it's correctly or incorrectly. I mean, we're in a space where it is International Women's Month right now. I think it's ironic that men have a lot of say-so over women in their kind of like agency, like the man created the bra, the man created the tampon, the man had all of these inventions for the women. The man says that she shouldn't do this with her body, she shouldn't do that with her body. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of those things. I think that, you know, women should have full autonomy over themselves, just like I believe men should, you know, like, make a decision for yourself. I shouldn't be able to force anything upon you because of my ideology, right? If you don't like it, you don't like it. So it's interesting because my daughter, I saw some pictures very provocative in her phone not too long ago. And her mom was like, and I was like, okay. I mean, I was like, we let her get on Instagram, you know? Yeah. So she's been exposed to what it looks like to be on Instagram, you know? I can't control what her experience and what she consumes or not consumes. That's the issue with media. I mean, when Marvin Gaye was around and doing Let's Get It On as a new single, right? Like this, you didn't have magazines and blogs following those people around. They couldn't really see what was happening in the Clinton and the Funkadelic. If they knew, they knew. They couldn't just get the cameras in there to see what was happening. So with me saying that, the advent of media and taking us to this space of like so much just oversums of just communication and access to information and videos and stuff like that, it has overexposed the generation. We don't know what it is yet. We don't know what that looks like. We'll find out 30 years from now what that looks like to the children that it had affected, because I didn't grow up with social media. Social media became a thing after I was an adult. So my experience with social media as an adult is using it from a professional lens, using it to sell my DJ services, using it. And I always had that in mind. And I also kind of pulled back from it too when I could have leaned more into it, you know, to get more leads, to sell more sales and things of that nature. But I realized that it's almost like reading the front page at this point. It's almost like reading the news. Like, I don't know what everybody's morning routine is, but I'm trying to get Instagram out of my damn morning routine. It's kind of like, oh shit. You know, it's almost like the fact, like, if you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
This is the question I have for y'all. If you're not doing anything, you sit back and you were chilling. Okay, cool. You was doing this, you were doing that. Now you had a moment to whatever. How many times do you do this? Hit all of your little apps, go through it, check your email, run through everything, and realize that ain't shit changed since the last 10 minutes you was just there.
Right.
You know, or maybe something is, because Instagram is kind of engineered to keep you right. So I mean, I went off on a tangent, but like, to get back to your question again, because I do that. I don't know why I like to do that, but I think everything is connected. That's why. But
yeah,
rappers who are dating openly, you know, sexually provocative women in the public eye should not be surprised if their daughters loved to or wanted to look like what they thought their father was into, right? Yeah, I think that's really real. I mean, I would hope that I can like persuade or raise my daughter with enough values and enough dignity and kind of integrity and kind of like love for herself that she wouldn't feel that she needs to expose herself to get, you know, whatever she needs to get from whoever she needs to get it from. I mean, there's so much that to be said with that. Like, if you're just leading with sexuality and you're making a bag from it, it's hard to tell a motherfucker that they ain't not doing the right thing. You know, it's kind of like you can't tell her or him that it's wrong or right. Traditional values might have different ideologies around it, but in this space, like I told my daughter's mother, I was like, look, she's going to get to a point that if this is how she wants to move, and that's how she's going to move. I don't have any sexy, overly provocative women in my life where they could go see ridiculous pictures or whatnot. Like, but men like it. Sex sells. We're like bursting out of like a sexual kind of prison in America, because sexuality is like,
I think it used to be taboo. You know what I mean? And I think that is the reason why I wanted to bring the point when you said, I want my daughter to have enough value for herself or whatever. And these days, I don't think it's about that, because women, if you see me at the beach, you're going to see me in a bikini, right? So does that mean I don't have value for myself because I'm in a bikini?
Well, context,
like, and no, and we'll get to that, but in a sense of, you know, nowadays, everyone, right? Like, everyone is showing off what they have worked hard for, right? In their health, right? As far as their bodies, they want to show it off. I do not think that posting a picture of yourself in a very cute outfit or in a bikini means that you're being sexually provocative. Now, you going back to the context of you saying what it is. Now, if it's somebody in a bra and panties and they have a cake and they're licking the cake, yes, they're insinuating something, right? But if a girl's just at the beach, or if a girl is just like at the pool or whatever, and she wants to take a picture of herself in a bikini because she's like, I feel good about myself right now, like, click, it's going up because this is my profile, right? Like Instagram or whatever you use to show this off, that is your profile. But I do think it's about in how you do it, right? But that's where I think your values go into. It's about how you do it. I follow girls on social media who, you know, all types, whether they are strippers, whether they are sex workers, whatever that is. And they show different things than what I'm gonna show or what T is gonna show. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think that is what you have to, if she's gonna do it, you need to show her to do it with couth. You know what I mean? Show her to like, hey, let's let's take ourselves serious. You know, let's have respect for ourselves more so. You know, because I think in this day and age, the kids, that's what all the boys are seeing. They see the who can you think of, the Lori Harveys and the Kylies, and they're looking better younger, right? Like we didn't look that good when we were 16 and 17 and 18. Like, you know, we didn't have all that going on.
And to bounce off of that, also with the sexuality, like if you go to another country, they're really fluid with it. It's not taboo, like you said, Leah. To see a woman's breasts, to see a woman naked, it's not like, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, that's a woman's anatomy and my mom has it, my grandma has it, it's cool, it's okay. Because America was built off of, like you said, they call it morals and values. So you cover yourself up and you act like, okay, I can't show this because having my breasts out is bad or whatever. It causes, I think we're learning that those things they cause other issues. So when a woman is in a bikini or a woman is wearing a see-through top with no bra, a man thinks she's showing it so I can touch her. No, I'm showing it because I want to show it. I feel good in my little see-through top. I'm letting them hang, and baby, you can't touch. And that's where America is kind of catching up, because in other countries, they're not big on violence. They're more fluid with being sexual. Here, we can watch somebody get blown away on the street, or a movie bring their kids to go see a movie that's really violent. But if somebody's kissing on screen and rubbing, cover your eyes, right? So it's an interesting thing, because we are way different when it comes to the Paris, you know, those Amsterdam places like that. And it is ultimately, like you said, Lee, it's not what you do. My mom always told me that. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. You can have two women doing the same thing. I'm sleeping with the same amount of men. I'm knocking them down each and every day. But it's all the facade. I come in, and the way I handle myself, the way I speak to you, the whole dialogue, it's the flow of things. And I think that's just, in my opinion, I guess that's just how you have to raise your daughter. It's like, yo, you can live your life, be free, but now everybody need to know what's going on. And it's how you work around. Because you might have that one chick, Lori Harvey, who she knocking them down and people say nothing. She's like, oh, I want to be like Lori. Like, I'm trying to get every celebrity too. But then you may have another young lady who's doing the same thing and she's a whore.
Well, you just have to be careful, because you can get miles on that vehicle if you don't really treat it correctly, right? You know, it could get you. The game will swallow you up if you think you can take the game, and you know. So I think what you guys both alluded to are very great points. I mean, there is a fine line between like being in a bikini at the beach, but then there's a clear difference in being on a bikini at the beach with your family and standing on Fig with the same outfit on. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so to your point, somebody told me one time, and a woman told me, said, what's the difference between a prostitute and a wife? And I was like, well, shit, is this a trick question? Like, what am I supposed to say? And she was like, the only difference is the perception of the public, right? It's only what people think they know about that person. So the prostitute is openly, she don't care what people think. She'll let it be known, she'll let it see, you'll see it, whatever. She's interfacing with the public, however she interfaces with the public, and she doesn't care how you perceive her. In the flip side, a wife is like, no, I have prestige, I am a wife, and it's a certain level of class that you, not saying that she not having fun, doing ratchet things, or whatever the case is in living life. So I think perception is reality. So like how you do things are so important, right? My daughter she's been in bikinis at the pool already. Like, she's 11, you know. I have pictures of her in her bikini. They're not sexually provocative. I think there's a fine line between art, you know. Shouts out to Azalea Banks. Didn't she just sell her first NTF sex tape? Like, It's a non-fungible sex tape, kind of audio tape. She sold it for 17,000. Like this week necessarily. It's like the first time you've ever did anything like that. So I think we'll keep pushing the bounds and people will, be open. I just think personally that sexuality is a private matter. I don't really, if I'm not really trying to engage in you sexually, then your sexuality, your preferences, or all of that type of shit, like it doesn't matter to me. Here's the thing that women got to remember about men, and it ain't saying it's right or it's wrong, but this is what kind of what the Muslims' perspective is, when they talk about covering a woman up, is because a lot of the men are immature and they can't control their damn self. And so if you put yourself out there in a very sexy way, I think the nature, the energy of, like, when I see a fine woman, just naturally, I get aroused. I get excited, Now, can I control that? Do I try to act on everything that no, but like if I see a beautiful woman, she beautiful. Just like if you saw a great looking car, it's like, man, that car looks good. I would like that car. So I think it's a natural yearn that humans have. I believe that women have that same thing. And who like, oh girl, look, yeah, look at him, and I think that's natural. I think that's a good thing. You don't always have to act on it. But it is tricky being in social media, because here's the thing. It worked for Kim. It worked for Chloe. You know what I'm saying? Financially, necessarily, right? The marriages didn't work. All that shit fell out. None of that shit mattered. All that sexy shit, none of that shit mattered. You can't sexy me to keep me.
Right.
You can't dress up enough to keep me. So it goes back into, like, once you go through all of that, be sexy, love yourself. We want that, right? But that should just be enough to give you the confidence to really believe in yourself internally, not the physical shit. The physical shit, because guess what? All these motherfuckers showing off all their muscles, shit's gonna fall. All of these nice little booties and a breath, all that shit gonna fall. You don't stay beautiful like this forever. So, like, that's not gonna keep you. So it might get you, but that's not gonna keep you. So what's gonna keep you, if we focused on, like, the real pieces, the real qualities and characteristics. I talk to my daughter about character and integrity, right? And confidence and being a leader. Because what that says is yeah, if I see 10 girls that have made $1,000 because they're in a bikini, right? Does that mean I need to go get in a bikini to make $1,000? Or is there another way that I could go about it, right? You don't have to just follow the pack, because that's what everybody's doing. But I also agree with, be yourself, live your life. So it's a fine line. It's kind of not like, don't do anything, because I know my daughter's going to grow up. I know she's going to eventually have sex. I know there are boys that like her. She might like boys, so I'm not oblivious to that. How do I cultivate that so she can make reasonable decisions, self-love, not, put herself out there in a way that people can take advantage of her. Things of that nature. That's how I'm looking at it necessarily. Getting her ready, because I know it's going to happen. I can't act like it's not going to happen,
What did you think about T.I. checking in on the whole Hyman situation? Like, what did you think about that?
Explain what that is, though, for people who don't know about the T.I. situation too.
Okay, well, the T.I. situation, he was taking his daughter to the doctor. I don't believe he was in the room with his daughter, but he was going there to basically find out if she was a virgin or not. And of course, women, once again, as a woman, like you said, as a father, I know it's hard. Like, you love your kid, and you're doing these things because you love your child, and you're handling it the best way you know how. So I get that. And I think sometimes people can be hard on, like, yo, why did he do that? I see what he was trying to do. But at the same time, now it's fear, it's invasive. It's like, yo, I'm about to be a woman. Like, that should have been more of a conversation and things of that nature. But I'm not a man. I wouldn't do that with my daughter. what did you think of it? Did you think it was as big as everybody made it?
Well, remember the people who made it really, really, really hard for him were the women rights activists, the feminists necessarily. And you know, I love women, man. I wouldn't be here without a woman. Like, I'm sitting here talking to you guys a day after International Women's Day in the middle of International Women's Month. I think it goes back to that conversation of like, you know, men making a lot of decisions for women, kind of created this need for women to step up to speak for themselves. Necessary, extremely necessary. I could take this particular piece in a different direction, but it's a different time and a different place for different conversation.
What you talking about?
Okay, come on with it.
Yeah, you can't say that and then not.
Takes it off topic. It really takes it off topic, and it gets into like social and society and race, and it gets too deep when you think about that, right? But I will say this. So to that point, there's a difference between like a Black feminist and a white woman feminist. I'll just say that, and I'll just let people think about what that is. But I will say, I don't know if I'm taking my daughter to the doctor to check her hymen. I pray that my relationship is good enough with my daughter that we can have a conversation. I want it to be more so voluntarily done than it seeming like I am your manager. Like I have this philosophy, and I love this guy on social media. His name is Derek Grace, and they have like a whole lot of classes and educational workshops. And you know, as an entrepreneur, he's a father, but he says, I'm not raising slave children. You know, that do as I say and not as I do, that's bad. That's just bad. It's not serving us anymore. If you know, it doesn't lend to the most educated of decisions, right? It's like, do as I say, do not as I do. And it's like, well, you're smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol. You're drunk telling me this. First of all, it's like, you can't go down that. Children are not, have never been, but are even smarter than they've ever been, with all of the advent of technology, right? So now with that, how old is his daughter? She was 16, something at the time, or?
Yeah.
She had to be in high school for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, those times are serious. A lot of people are having sex in high school. And it also goes back to like that idea of, if you try to fear them out of it or scare them straight, that might not work either, you know? So that could have been an attack on his own ego. The fact that his daughter could be, you know, involved with another man, right? And now that handoff, like, what happens when you get traditionally? What happens when you get married, right? Who's supposed to walk you down the aisle traditionally, right? They give you away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here. Like, I you know, I understand the institution of marriage, but I also believe marriage starts way before you sign a marriage certificate, right? So like, part of being married is sexing, you know, just having sex, you know. Another part of it is having children together, you know, living together. These things are very marriageable type of things. These ain't no fucking regular things that just anybody does. But those are some of the pillars that a marriage couple actually they live together, right? They frequently have intercourse. And what was the other thing I said? I can't remember what I said. I said 3 things, but
I don't remember.
I don't remember. You gotta check the tape. Check the tape.
Roll it back.
But I mean, these things are very, and having children, right? So sex, children, living together. Those are 3 things that if you're doing those things, because I used to say this, if you are not married, you are single.
Yeah.
But what if you living with that motherfucker? Are you still single?
People still act single when they live together sometimes. I don't know. But
Wow.
That is definitely foul. I'm not saying it's right, but I know people do that, right? Which is why people sometimes break up or, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think the biggest thing you could do in a relationship is have children together. So if you have children with somebody, you basically have said I do before you even said I do. You don't know if you said I do yet. You just had children with them. You put the cart before the horse. So it's like, we do all those things. I'm guilty. And then when we get back to like parental skills or what we think is right, like those are kind of conversations. Now I ain't saying you gotta ask him, hey, you gonna check her hymen when she gets 16? But like, so it's kind of hard to kind of navigate that and foresee that. But I think as a father in T.I.'s position, at that time when he did that, I wanted nothing more but to like stand by him and like hold him up. You know what I'm saying? To say like, man, as a father, I don't think he's doing it, with malicious intent. Maybe a little ego. I can see where my ego could be a little struck and like, oh, ain't this about like my daughter is actually like, and I didn't know about, it's like, well, damn, do you need to know about it? Do you want to know about it? It's like, it's a touchy subject. I don't know what to think about that shit right now, to be honest.
But I guess the whole question was, do you agree? Like, because you said you'd want your daughter to, hopefully you guys have a good relationship enough where she would just tell you. But to go back, do you agree with T.I.? Do you think that it was, like, do you think that was okay for him to do that?
I don't really know what the converse, like, I think social media, so this is what happens. Something happens and then we don't get the backstory. And then it's like, well, was him and his daughter in agreement of them going to the doctor together? Or
so it was the thing. She felt, she definitely felt violated. She said it. She was like, I did not want the world to know that one. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want anything private out there, especially.
Well, how did that even like? Okay, yeah.
He talks about it.
Right. He told her business.
Yeah.
So that's where that happened. And and like I said, I don't think media blows everything up. So by the time we got the story, it sounded like as if he was in the room with her. And then you find out, no, he wasn't in the room. He took her to the doctors and he probably asked the doctor, hey, can you let me know if you do your checkup, if she's having.
I'm that kind of father, though. I'm that kind of father. I'm there.
But that's okay. That's okay if you're there. You should be there for your daughter if you need to be. But my point is he violated his own daughter's like privacy. You know what I'm saying? And also that's their trust in a relationship. What'd you say?
No, publicizing it, that I can see the problematic issue.
Yeah.
You can get the backlash from that, because it's like, she is a young lady, and at a certain point, she's a young adult, So it is such a touchy line. I will be taking my daughter to the doctor for I've taken her for all of her. I'm there for all of the type of issues, but I do know that as she's getting older, I have to give her privacy. I can't just be in the bathroom with her. I'm not just gonna watch her take a shower. I'm not gonna wash her hair necessarily like I would when she was 7. So now she's a little person. She's like a whole young adult. Like, it's crazy. Her feet big as mine and shit. Like, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I have to make space for her, give her her own space. And it's funny because now my son is like, I need privacy. I need space. And I'm like, boy, you're 7. You know, he's like, but I need privacy. Like, hey, you get privacy then, man. You get privacy too.
It's interesting, like, you know, when I talk to my father or talk to someone in my family, a male, I typically look at them and just be like, oh, whatever. Like, they come off so abrasive. I'm like, whatever. But talking to you is different because I see the battle in your mind between like, that's my daughter though. Like, I'm gonna be all up. I want to know. When you love something, you know, it's like Leah and her niece and me and my son. Like, when you love something so much, I can see, especially as a man, where you guys fight it. You're like, I want to release you, but hold up. I know what's out there. I know I've maybe made some women cry. Maybe I've seen my mama go through whatever she's went through with your dad or whomever. So I can see how that can become a battle, but that's why us as parents, we have to do better with, like you said, raising our children, letting them know that relationships and healthy relationships and sex and all these things are just natural and part of the process. And when that happens, you will raise a smarter daughter, a child who will make choices of her own that will be, you know, beneficial to her and what she's trying to do out there in the world, and feeling confident in herself and in her body and things like that. And to piggyback off of that, how do you feel about the slut walk? Like, what is your take on the slut walk?
You know, hey, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, whoa, hold it now. But then with respect to everything, it's like, I get it. You know, I understand it's a tough thing. I used to tell my buddies growing up when we was really running the streets acting crazy, you know, we'd be so quick to call girls, you know, whores or, you know, this, that, and the third. But it's like, that's the type of shit you actually like about her. That's why you calling her motherfucking ass over right now. So it's like, you contradicting yourself saying that shit. It's like, is it good or is it bad? Like, are we gonna make her, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird to me. It's like, wait, isn't that what we like? But then I get it. I think that I didn't know what to think, first of all. When I first saw it, I was, so what are we actually telling young women? You know, what are we saying? You know, like, I know that we've all had that slut walk of shame the morning after, you know, holding your belongings, leaving a house that you didn't necessarily live in.
Wait, hold on. Have you had that walk of shame, Quest, before?
Hell yeah. What you mean? Looking like yesterday. You know.
I've had that happen.
You never had the walk of shame?
Yes.
You brought exactly. You brought a bag, and maybe your walk of shame wasn't so shameful because you had to change your clothes. You know what I'm saying? You actually had to change your clothes. Brought new pennies, you know?
You know?
We've all been there, boy. Let me tell you. Daddy want to know that.
that walk of shame is serious because you didn't know you was not gonna come home last night. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't really like. The first thing I saw when I saw it, I was like, hell no, I ain't rolling, you know. And when I started to look at some of the imagery and how people were like, I get it. I understand that the world is kind of like waking up and telling people that the paradigms are shifting, you know, and that, you know, old ways of thoughts are not necessarily serving us anymore moving forward. And so I ain't saying, I don't know what the mission necessarily was. Go ahead, tell me.
Well, no. So the mission of the slut walk is more so, as far as a lot of women are molested, abused as children. And as they mature, sometimes that can develop a whore or whatever degrading word you want to call a woman, right? And it's more, it's the basis of it kind of started there with just like how, and I don't want to like sound bad, bring men down, but how men have violated women, and then now you get this type of woman, and then now you want to shame. You know what I'm trying to say? It becomes that was a piece of it, and then on top of that, the whole like, yo, if I'm wearing this, if I'm doing this, that doesn't give you the right to come over here and fuck with me, touch me, yell out degrading slurs to me or whatever. Like, so it was kind of just like,
it's to take back the power.
Take back the power. Also, like I said, I hate when I'm having a conversation with a man and he's like, yeah, she around here doing everybody in the neighborhood. But then you find out like, yo, did you know she was raped as a child? Did you know that, wild shit was happening in her household and no one came to save her, or she had no outlet? So a lot of these women need to be loved and loved on and respected. And maybe before you call her those names, maybe you should step in and be like, yo, I can show you what a real man is all about. Or, you know what I'm trying to say? And I think the slut walk is, like you said, take back the power, identifying your beauty, not feeling ashamed of the things that you may have done in life because of your past. It's a lot to it, but that's why we all got to dig past the surface, because when you look at it, it's like, what the hell? I just see a bunch of naked bitches just running with the boobies bouncing. And it's more than that.
Yeah, from that perspective, I totally get it. I think all wars will stop if all women on the planet just close their legs for like a day. We won't be fighting as much no more. Things wouldn't go down the way that it would. So I think that the powerful position that was taken is admirable from that perspective. People need to grow. Like, if you're a felon, right? You want to come back into society. You want people to treat you as a whole person. You don't want to be looked at as no damn felon for the rest of your life. If you had some sexual encounters with some people, that shouldn't follow you for the rest of your life, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I go back to say sexuality is a private matter, just like religion. I don't care what your religion is. Show me that you're a good person. I can see it in the deeds of your moves. You could tell me you're a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever, and I can see how you talk to the people that can't do anything for you to show me who you really are. So you can't tell me nothing about your religion. You can't tell me nothing about your sexuality, because I don't care. It's going to come out in how you move. It's going to come out in what you do and how you treat people, right? And so for me, when I was growing up, the first book that I read cover to cover was Iceberg Slim, Pimp, and Donald Goings, and Coldest Winter Ever. And those were the books that, as a young kid from the inner city, Inglewood, South Central, I didn't really care about Huckleberry Finn, The Diary of Anne Frank. I didn't give a damn about The Great Gatsby, but those were the books that they were forcing down us. Well, what made me want to read was shit that I was able to see. It was like reading a movie, when I started reading Pimpin'. So that kind of corrupted my mind almost, where I thought that, I was going to be a pimp, I was going to have a stroll. And so I do think that it's such a crazy world when you think about capitalism. Capitalism is the pimping hoe game. Like, clear as day. You either pimping or you hoeing, but from like a male female perspective, just shout out to women, just because you guys have had to endure so much, and we've all been dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of mental health issues. And I think we're kind of like now at a place where we can like agree that mental health is is at the forefront of a lot of these issues that we're dealing with. Like if you're talking about somebody who has baggage and trauma from a past that's haunting them today and it's making them kind of operate in a certain way today, we need therapy for that shit. I had a relationship, and I don't want to get too specific about it, just with respect to somebody, but like I was unaware of how to deal with the trauma that was present, and I treated it in not the right way. I didn't treat it properly. I didn't treat it with respect to the whole person and the backstory that was there. I was treating the shit that I was having an issue with, thing that where it was showing up in her life and how we were butting heads, right? I didn't really understand that it had nothing to do with that part. It was some way over here. It had nothing to do with me. It's daddy issues. And I didn't really know how to actually be of service in that, because it was more so about me and how I was feeling in interactions where I wasn't feeling served or I wasn't feeling whole. But when I think back to it, I was being unreasonable and way too aggressive at helping her come to that realization, get through that issue and pass that trauma and that pain off so she can move forward and be the person that she could have been. She wasn't her full self. I wasn't my full self, right? And I didn't know that shit then. I just knew that I didn't like what was happening. I felt that shit was wrong, and you know, that's how I felt, and I was standing on it. And all in all, I am holding somebody accountable for some shit that they don't even know that's present, or that they're not really even guilty for, because it's something that's stemming way back in her training, her thoughts somewhere back here in her mind from her trauma and her experiences growing up. Now that this is present in a relationship, her not knowing how to identify it, me not knowing how to identify it, and us fighting about it and then breaking up. I had to come to that realization way after we broke up. I was like, damn, wait. Oh, I could have actually handled this a lot differently. I could have been a lot more sensitive and careful with her feelings and what she was actually going through, which I wasn't sensitive to because it was more so about me, you know? But thinking about it now, it's like, oh, well, I apologize. I don't know how to like make up for that shit, but that's what I'm talking about with children not realizing that their parents are growing up with them.
Very true. Very true. I know I've had my own personal experiences where I was like, oh, damn, I was a little rude. That was a little mean. And you do feel a little bad about it. How about you, Leah? You had that ever happen?
100%. I think once I know for me, I realized that my mother was growing up with me. Honestly, once I got into college and, you know, just growing up and being on your own and figuring things out and really being like, oh, like this is hard. I have no clue how my mom did this. You know what I mean? And like living on your own, you know, like, so even after college, like our relationship probably grew. The day after I graduated college, like our relationship got even better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you're at that certain age, you go through ups and downs. I gained a certain amount of respect for my mother, just being like, whoa, like I have no clue how you did this. And you are still growing as a person, just like everyone else. Like you go through stages and phases in life. And when your parents have you in their 20s, they're different from when they have you, you know, when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s, you know, like just whether they're more stable in life, you know, especially when you're younger and you have kids, like you're really, really figuring it out. So yeah, it definitely took me a while, but I agree. Like, yeah, when you are raising each other, it's a lot. And I think every person and parent is going to go through that because you learn, like you said, once you're in it, you really learn. Like, okay.
I've learned so much from my children and how to just deal with things and more patience and just how to get through certain things, you know, in life. And I wouldn't have been put to task like this without being a father. So it's the greatest hood on the planet.
No, it definitely is. And I know me having a son helped me understand men more. As far as, you know, men are it's very not black and white, but 1 + 1 is 2. Like I realized that dealing with a young man every day, because, you know, when you're dealing with your man, like you said, you're bringing all your baggage with you and you're like, yo, here, this is what I'm dealing with and you need to listen to me. But dealing with my son, he's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Or if he does something wrong, he's like, I did it because, basically, if he could say I did it because I wanted to and I thought I would get away with it, he would literally say that. But he got to finesse it. But that's when I realized a lot of it is not a full thought process. It's like, it looked enticing. You weren't in the room. So hell, Ma, I did a little, you know, bungee kick off the bed and bust my head. And now I know it was wrong. But I just had to do it. So yeah, dealing with a young man every day, I realized, like, okay, men, y'all not as complex as we are. I feel like we're a little more, you got to dig a little deeper. It's more easy with guys in certain areas of things.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can see it. I definitely see it all the time. And Leah laughs at him. Leah's like, yo, that little boy's smart, but he's wild, yo. So to wrap it up, I'm gonna ask you this last thing. What do you feel that men should do a better job at defending women? Like being our protector?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can always do a better job. I mean, it's not as a black man for black women, 100% for sure. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just men period and women period, I think there's a need for growth there. I mean, think about equal pay for equal job. I mean, it's just simple shit. It's just like, you know, we shouldn't really be separating, you know, the gender from performance and from productivity. And, you know, I think everybody deserves a certain basic human respect, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's also, it's like you get an A until you turn in some subpar shit, and now you get your B and your C, and your grade starts to degrade based on your performance. I think everybody's born with an A. We love all babies. Grow up, let the world get to you. I don't know what to say about it now. Every baby was beautiful today. Like, yeah, you grew into this motherfucker? Like, you know, so I think that we all have that opportunity, right? To be great. The blanket statements, yes, men should do much more better at defending women. That's such a blanket statement, though. That's like so broad. Like, what do we mean by that? Should men be better protectors physically? Should we be better providers financially? Should we be better protectors in the bed? I mean, like, so many different ways to go into that. Like, I think what we have, one of our biggest issues in relationships is finance, right? It's like, oh, you make a bunch of money, make a brick of money, and he don't, you ain't gonna date him. Maybe you will date him, but how you gonna treat him? Are you gonna respect him? Are you gonna let him be the man in the house and you got the bag? Probably not. So it's like, we have all of these kind of like, these things. So to answer your question, men have to do better, right? We have to do a better job at everything when it comes to just women relations. You know, I'm not trying to be here like Captain Saberhome, just say the right thing so it resonates with women, but it's like, no, I think men are on the hook for defense of women. I mean, I just think that's natural in society. Like the female in any herd or any type of group is always going to be protected. You know what I'm saying? We're let anybody. And I think there are a huge group of people who do so, right? I think there's a large group of examples of how to do it, but I also think that there are some poor examples of how not to do it, right? And with social media, it's that thing where you get all of it. Mm-hmm. You don't get to, you can't like pick your timeline and say, I just want all positivity. I mean, you can try. We all try. Like, I want my timeline to look like, but we don't control it no more. So, I want to figure out how to say that Black men and Black women in particular have a lot of healing to do with each other. Mm-hmm. We have so much healing to do with each other. It's really, this is an ongoing conversation. This is something that we need to very much so speak open and freely about. I think people take their individualized occurrences and then they try to measure it against the broad general stroke. And I think that is wrong. You know, it's important that if you've had bad experience with whoever, men or women, that it's important that you don't accuse everybody of that, right? I mean, that's a tough place to be, but you can't let, one person in this big old gigantic world, even if it's multiple people, steal the opportunity of your joy moving forward, of all of the things that you could actually manifest here. So, women, although men have to protect them and defend themselves, have shown up in a space to where you don't necessarily have to they want to be it's tricky because you have this independent women thing where it's like, I could do this, so it's like we want to protect, and then as soon as you get to protecting, it's like the independent woman is out. It's like, what?
Okay, so we spoke on that, right? Like, women, obviously, right? I believe there is a saying, right? As a woman, I am an independent woman. I can protect myself. I'm an independent woman. I could do for myself, right? I can do all these things for myself. But when you find a man, right? Or when there is a man in your life, right? Who is supposed to protect you, a real man is going to protect you, whether that is speaking up for you. And I think that's more so where T is kind of going with it, is like, can men do a better job at speaking up and protecting women in that sense, right? Because you guys are right, like that's kind of what it is. That's what's been happening just in the world. You look at the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle thing. I didn't really want to touch on that, but in a sense that he was able to protect his woman because he was like, I got to get out of here because they're not going to protect my wife or my child. So in that sense, like, should men do a better job, right? Like, how can you guys do a better job at speaking up for us in certain situations? I know we got to wrap this up quick, but if you can just kind of give us a brief thing on how you feel, like, how can you guys do a better job at speaking up for us when the time is right? Whether that is in the workplace, because I'm sure you've had situations where you've had to speak up for somebody.
Yeah, definitely in the workplace, in any professional environment. Don't let that shit linger. It's a lot of ego. You got to check power at the door. If you're not willing to do that, people get comfortable and they set in. It's like, well, he didn't trip last time. She didn't say nothing last time. We're gonna lean a little more on it. So yes, definitely in the workplace, definitely in the public. It's tricky in the public though. Like growing up, it was like, oh, the couple downstairs are fighting. Oh, yeah. Do I jump in and stop it? That's so touchy. You know how many times my sister, or I've heard of sisters calling their brothers to ooh-wop, and then they back with the guy. Mm-hmm. In the face of the adversity, when it happens publicly in the workplace, wherever it's at, just speak to that shit. Don't let it happen. I mean, it's tough. I remember seeing women get in a fight with men and you want to get in and it's like, damn, do you want to get involved with that? I don't know these people. That's kind of touchy. But I just will say that, yes, I believe that you women, all women, deserve the protection and the security to know that they won't be taken advantage of.
Thank you. I love that. Because we definitely agree. And we thank you for coming on the pod today, Quest. I know there's so much more to talk about on this topic, but I feel like for Women's Month, I did want to talk to a father and, you know, just see how you are raising, right? Like you are helping raise this next generation, right? Like you have 2 children, you have a boy and a girl, you have a daughter to show how she should be treated and a young man to show how to treat a young woman and all human beings, right? So I think it's our responsibility as right, just as people to just show these kids how to be. I think this new generation they're seeing a lot more than we did. So
well, thank you so much, Quest, for coming on and joining us on High Thoughts.
Thank you.
yeah.
You had some great points, and I do agree with, like you said, just to touch on it, just a tad, when you said women being independent women, but also allowing a man to step in and be their man and allowing them to protect them. So I wanted to say, like, I understand where you're coming from with that, and that has to be like something that we have to work on as well.
Yeah.
But it was great talking to you. I loved it. You had a lot of good insight on all of our topics, and you gave us the goods.
Yes, we could talk all day.
Yeah, this is the ongoing conversation. I'm hoping that I didn't say nothing to offend anybody.
I love it. We might have to take this over to Clubhouse for sure, like this week. Yeah. Take the talents to Clubhouse and kind of continue the conversation, get other people in on it, get some other moms' perspectives. I think that'll be really cool. But is there any parting words that you want to give us before you leave? High thoughts?
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out from this interview is children, teenagers, kids, period. Realize that your parents are growing up with you, you know? And so we might let you down. That doesn't mean that, you know, we're bad people or anything is inherently wrong. It's just that we're human. And so we're going to make mistakes and we're just learning from you too. So I appreciate both of you having me and having this vulnerable conversation, but much needed conversation for the community. So thank you for the platform, man.
Love it. Of course, you're welcome. Thank you, Quest. And as you know, you can come on anytime. You're our friend. So this is beautiful. And I definitely want to continue this conversation. But thank you for jumping on High Thoughts, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely. Have a great day, ladies.
Bye.
So for High Thoughts history, and you know it's Women's Month, so I have to give, you know, women the props today. Her name is Joanne S. Bass. She is the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. In 2020, Sergeant Joanne S. Bass became the first woman and the first Asian American to hold the Chief Master Sergeant position in the U.S. Air Force, which is the highest enlisted leadership rank in the organization. She oversees 600,000 airmen. I thought that was dope. You know, let y'all know what we doing out here, what us strong women doing.
Seriously, shout out to her.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right, so it's done. Holla at you, girl.
All right, bitch. Love you.
Bye.